Hello and welcome to this recap of today's Code Buddies live coding session. Code Buddies is a global community of amazing people who help each other become better at software development through conversations on Slack and peer-to-peer organized study groups and virtual hangouts. In today's session, we continue the website project for the Western Friend organization. Western Friend is the official publication of Quakers in Pacific, North Pacific, and Intermountain yearly meetings. We've been working on the subscription feature, reporting this website over from Drupal to Wagtail CMS. There's not a lot of user-facing features at this point. One thing we did add was a link to the subscribe menu, to the subscribe form on the menu. So now we can access that. And another thing is when you do fill out the subscribe form, you end up at a payment processing screen. And I uncovered a bug pretty early in the session, that the coding session, where Django session variables were lingering around in some specific cases where payment had been canceled or not completed through my development. So to mitigate this problem, because I want to share the code, the payment code as a destination, like one view for payment processing, but having people come from the bookstore or the subscription. So one approach I was able to figure out is when subscribing, in this case, when you're in the subscription index page, so this page, after validating the form, once the form is submitted and validated, we set this session variable containing the subscription ID, and we redirect to the payment form. This is pretty much the same process, or very similar process in the order form. We get an order total and things like that, and create the order and get the ID. The difference being in the reverse method. So this redirect will redirect to the page, and it'll get the reverse URL for the payment process page, and we can pass in some keyword arguments. So I just had to define this in our urls.py. For the payment process. I should actually open that payment urls.py just for clarity here. I just added it here in angle brackets. So now that we've got this keyword argument, I can tell the payment processing view that we just came from the subscribe. I did the same thing in the order form using like order created or something like that. So when we land here in the view, the payment process view, it's just going to check this keyword argument that got passed in, and if it is coming from the bookstore, it'll be a bookstore order, and we'll grab a bookstore order out of the database using this session variable for order ID, which was kind of hanging around in some certain circumstances. Otherwise, if the previous page is subscribe, now these should be mutually exclusive. You should only ever be able to come from one page. Whereas my previous approach, there were session variables, and sometimes you could have both an order ID and a subscription ID session variables active at the same time. And it was just grabbing the first condition, which was the bookstore. Even if you were coming from subscribe, your total for your payment was really high, or it was whatever was in the bookstore order. So incorrect, essentially. Because in both of these cases, we're grabbing the entity from the corresponding table, and we're calling it entity, and we have a shared API of get total cost. The total cost was incorrect in the cases where you were subscribing but had still a resident or a remaining order ID in your session variable. So we were able to fix that. Took some figuring out. The other thing we did, and this is after discussion with Mary in last week's review, on reviewing last week's work, we have this method to get total cost, and when we're actually rendering the payment processing form, we're rendering let's go over there. So we'll go here and grab a 1-year subscription and subscriber, and we'll hop over there to the payment screen. We're rendering a payment form. This is coming from Braintree. Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. And all that is done for us automatically. We added PayPal to the processing option. So right now, we've previously worked with card, and when we add PayPal, it's just going to need to get the total cost, and that we can convey it to PayPal. So when I pass this payment total into the template, not only can I display it right above the pay button so people can know what they're paying, but down here in the Braintree JavaScript, which is very little code necessary to get Braintree working, we can now, in the PayPal object, pass in that payment total to PayPal checkout process, which is offsite. It redirects to PayPal, or it actually opens a modal, or opens a pop-up. And anyway, I don't know. People still like PayPal, so we're keeping it around. And that's how to do it. We just had to pass in that extra little bit of context, the payment total, from the underlying view. Cool. And our final change is actually what I set out to do at the beginning of the session. When a person is logged in or an anonymous person visits the website and they view articles from the most recent issues, like the current issue on separation, they should only have what we were calling a teaser access to the articles and a subscriber renew button and a little bit of a truncated text. So essentially what we did, and I can bring up the model here, it's just already up. I added a teaser field, which is also rich text. And on the editing interface, you now have a teaser and a body field, so the editor has full control over what content goes in both of those. When rendering the template out, we come down here to the get context method of the Wagtail page class. And essentially, so when you're rendering the content, you have to get the content from the parent class. And we would check that the request user has an email attribute. Otherwise, they're anonymous and haven't logged in or registered. Or there could be registered users, I believe, that don't have an email, so they'll handle both of those cases. If so, we're going to check in the subscriptions table to see if there's one that has a matching email. And if it does, then we'll just set that active subscriber context variable to true. So I'll go ahead and log in. Sorry for the sirens in the background with my dummy account. And now you can see the main article body. When I log in and go to the admin, actually I just wanted to edit this page. You can now see what a content editor would see. They have a teaser field, which says rich text, and an article body. So we decided to keep those two separate rather than doing what we've done with Drupal, which is truncated at some number of words, or I can't remember exactly how it worked out, but this seems like a better approach. So yeah, those are the main changes today. Had a lot of activity on the Hangout, so that's actually really exciting to get people involved and some great conversations going on. Non sequitur. I really think this CodeBuddies community is the place to be right now. It's very active, and there's people learning and teaching all sorts of topics. So do stop by codebuddies.org and check out some of these ongoing Hangouts. Looking at full stack development, doing Django work, test-driven design, all sorts of good stuff. Joining groups, you name it. There's Java, PHP, a lot of Python, Android development, math, Ruby, Rust, Elixir. There's some great teachers and mentors on this community. All right, well, that's been a brief recap of today's CodeBuddies live coding session. Thanks for your time and have a great day.